Hello and welcome to the show. Now, Forza has a truck problem, or maybe a truck fetish, I don't know. However you want to phrase it, there are certainly quite a lot. They just can't help keep adding more into the game. Now, I'm not going to defend the latest car pack. I don't think it is massively strong. However, what we have learned over the many years of doing YouTubing, over the many years of racing in various games, the more unusual the car, the weirder the car, races that shouldn't work, actually often end up being some of the most fun. So, seeing as we have a selection of modern pickups, seemed like a good idea to go racing with them, because it isn't actually, well, that far-fetched an idea. You see, Australia get it. With the support classes for the V8 supercars, there is a fantastic arrangement, variation of vehicles. You have the touring cars Masters, big classic muscle cars. You have the Aussie racing cars that are the little motorbike engined tiny things that are very, very exciting. And you have the Utes. Now, the Utes themselves are ludicrous cars. Certainly it's the road-going versions of ludicrous cars. And the ones that they went racing with were only slightly different from the road cars, made for a very, very exciting race series indeed. Unfortunately, it has since changed a little bit. No longer do we have cars like this the Utes like this HSV. Instead, they've moved on to a category called Super Utes. I'll have a picture up on the screen at this moment. Gone to a more traditional looking pickup truck, which I think is a little bit of a shame, because this style of Ute was very, very cool indeed. However, that is what they are racing. And they look very similar to the new Chevrolet Colorado. Now, the ones actually used in the Australian series, we don't have in Forza. I think they use the Ford Ranger, perhaps, rather than the F-150. But either way, they have a Mazda, a Toyota, a Mitsubishi, and so on. We don't have those. Instead, I was going to use what we did have on hand to make our own Super Ute series. We'll be using the new Colorado, we're using the Dodge Ram, which is pretty bloody big, and the F-150 race truck. For the builds, I would build all of them to try and balance them out, make them as even as possible. There were a couple of things interesting, shall we say, to deal with. Most importantly, of course, is rolling. In fact, this is a problem for the real Ute series. I think it's the first practice session or first qualifying session, someone managed to roll their truck. So trying to deal with rolling was a concern. While not going to fall over on Forza, in the dry, going up on two wheels and losing control was a real danger. So the trucks couldn't run on full race slicks, just give them far too much grip. They're all running on street tyres. Had to be very careful with the amount of camber I gave them and really soften the suspension. Not to the point where it's complete jelly, but soften it so much that it will compress rather than have the vehicle go up on its side. All three vehicles were built to, not go on two wheels, and for the most part worked pretty well. Of course, to test them out, that would mean going for a race. So we would start with some qualifying. We came to the Catalonia National Circuit, a nice balanced sort of a track. And Ford fans, it would be good news, as the Raptor would work its way on to a pole position. Now, the Ford was the overall truck. The Ford was pretty decent down the straights, pretty good around the corners. Made its lap speed, as a general overall truck. Also had 10 gears, which is a strange thing to get used to. Second place, that would go to a very, very bright green Chevy. Now, the Colorados were the handling truck by a long way. By a long way indeed. Also, my anti-rolling measures did make the trucks a little bit understeering. I mean, they're naturally big and heavy, so not the greatest handling. But, the Colorado was by far and away the handling truck. Would sit on second, and third, well, we would round out the top three with all three different trucks. A Ram. Now, the Ram was all about the straight line speed. It is the largest vehicle here, not the easiest to get through the corners. Not terrible, but not the easiest to get through the corners, but it makes up for lost ground when it comes to the straights. Fourth, we would have another Chevy, this time a Pooh Brown Chevy. There wasn't much time between the DLC coming out and us filming this, so no one really had race liveries for the Chevys. And fifth, we would round that out with another of the Rams. On to the race, and it would be a good start for the Chevys. Despite being the least powerful and heaviest truck in this field, the Chevrolets got off the line very, very well indeed. The Ford getting a good launch from pole as well, already starting to escape away a little bit because it's going to be busy. There is a lot of metal going down into the first corner. They're 3 wide, 2 wide, there's even 4 wide further back as one of the Rams tries to squeak round on the inside. They all make it through the first corner. It's still not sorted as a Jurassic Park truck's out in the weeds. That's not where you want to be going, even with your pickup truck. Still too wide as we run up towards the top of the hill, and the Colorado on the outside is going to struggle through there. There's a sneaky move for the purple truck trying to get past. He can't get that one finished though. Again, 3 wide through chicane. It's difficult going 2 wide through there with normal cars, let alone 3 wide with pickup trucks towards the hairpin for the first time. A big dive from the Colorado. The Chevrolet very, very good under brakes, especially into that hairpin and into turn 1, but it's not going to quite be enough to get past that Ford as there's a big line, an awful lot of metal around these next couple of corners. The Chevys trying desperately to get underneath as we head up towards this final sector. Very, very narrow sector for these trucks to negotiate. Very tough to overtake. Chevrolet looks to go around the outside of the first part. Isn't going to quite be far enough alongside. The Ford's a little wide on the exit. Again, there's almost a gap for that Colorado. It's not quite going to be enough though as we head on to the start-finish straight to complete the first lap. The Ford has got the straight line speed up to the front, and second is coming under increasing pressure from the Ram down towards turn 1. That Ram's huge amount of straight line speed is over 500 horsepower in this thing as it hurtles down towards the first corner, but got to try and get it all stopped. As I said, Chevrolet very, very good under brakes, but it's a long, long way around the outside of turn 1. The Chevy keeps it there, will be on the inside for the next couple of turns. The Ram doesn't really want to be out wide. The sheer power, the power and the torque of the Ram would get it past as they run up the hill. The Ford's now got to be careful. The Ford has got to be careful because the Ram is carrying a lot of speed through this back chicane. If he can get himself in position up the inside, this next corner is a good overtaking spot. The Ford is good under brakes. The Ram thinks about it, changes his mind, goes back to a normal racing line. He can't go too aggressive on the old overtaking strategy, though. He compromises himself too much. Well, there's 2 Chevys lining up behind, ready to look for a way past. It's a difficult situation when you've got so many vehicles right around you. Further back, there's fighting outside the top 10 going on here. 2 Raptors, a Chevy, a Ram, all hurtling down towards the first corner. They're 2 wide further up as well. The Chevy makes sure to come across and cover that inside, while the Raptors is trying to sneak up the inside of the Ram. Is almost drawn alongside, got his truck there, but he's going to be stuck. I think it's better off trying to go around the outside. In fact, the Raptors are now going to tangle with one another. The red Ram's got himself in trouble out wide on the sand. You just clip that sand, lose a little bit of momentum. It's a fantastic run from the blue Ram all the way around the outside. I think the Colorado got a little bit boxed in behind the red truck. Had to have a lift in the end, though. Carries more speed through the chicane. It's a good attempt by the blue Ram, but not able to quite get that one done. Now come the Fords up the inside into the hairpin. A little bit bobbling across the curb there. Can't quite get it done as there's a little contact between a Ram and a Colorado. That cost them both a lot of time. The Rams tried desperately. There's a lot of trucks. There's a huge amount of trucks in one corner, and somehow everybody escapes out the other side. The Ram managing to make a decent way through all of that. I think one of the Raptors built some sandcastles on the exit of that corner, but everybody somehow survived. At the front, the Raptor continued to lead, but was feeling the pressure from that Ram again. Turn 1 is where the Ram's going to be strongest, is most likely if he can get a good run down the back straight. Extra straight line speed could come in handy. The Ford wary of that, defending well into the first corner. And if the Ford can fend off the Ram into that first corner, it's going to be difficult for the larger pickup to find a way past elsewhere. The Ford is just that bit better through these corners. The Ram, you can see a little bit wide at the top of the hill, and again, the Ram can't afford to be too aggressive. If he's too brave, takes too bigger a risk or a big overtaking attempt and it doesn't come off, he's going to lose a place to the Chevy, and again is too far back to do anything into the next hairpin, and that bright green truck is right there. The fight for 10th is continuing further back. 4 Rams almost in one group. Is this lot going to go too wide up towards the top of the hill? The white and blue truck tried to go around the outside of the 10th place car, ends up losing a place for his efforts as they're all nose to tail through that back chicane. A slide from the red truck. Does still get the vehicle across to defend. Into the hairpin we go. Now it is very much for 4 Rams together for 10th place. The blue one having a look around the outside of the exit. The hairpin isn't going to quite make that one stick. The red truck continues to fend off the vehicles behind. That white Ram's having a look underneath. Isn't going to be able to get the truck alongside. Isn't going to be able to find a way past as they head into this final sector. Too wide in Rams through this next chicane is not a way you want to go. You're better off, much better off, biding your time and waiting. The battle for the lead continues to rage. The Ford perhaps slowing down the Ram a little bit. The Colorado is right there behind them this time around, and 4th place is not that far back either in all of this. The Ram's still unable to find a way past the Ford, and in too busy, well, kind of focusing on overtaking the car ahead, left the door wide open. A big dive from the Colorado, but the Chevys have got the brakes to do it. The Chevys have got the brakes to do it. There's a little bit of a bump on the way through the corner. I don't think the Ram ever expected there to suddenly be a bright green truck alongside. Otherwise, he probably would have defended a lot heavier into that hairpin. And the Colorado's up into 2nd. The Colorado got very good pace around this circuit. The problem is, it needs to be far enough away from that Ram as they come onto the start-finish straight. It is very quick through the chicane and will be fast around the final corner. It needs to make sure that he is out of range of that Ram. And that's easier said than done. You can already see that Colorado's moving across. The Colorado's going to sit in the middle of the road down towards turn 1, making his intentions very clear that he's going to be defending into the first turn. The Ram could almost draw alongside, but then the Ram would have to go the long way around at turn 1, and you're not going to out-handle the Colorado. You might be able to out-drag it, though, as they head through the next turn we go, and the Ram is quick on the exit as they head up towards the top of the hill. The Colorado's across, but it didn't get across soon enough. The Ram will shove his nose up the inside. They're going to go side by side at the top of the hill. Colorado's on the dirt out wide. Can't quite hold on to the position. All of that hard work, the lovely opportunistic overtake to get the position, and the Ram is back past. And now 4th has come to join in the group. The battle for 5th also pretty damn exciting. It was a Raptor that was clinging on to the 5th place, coming under more and more pressure from a Colorado. A Ram a little bit further back. Of course, racing these sort of trucks that are so evenly matched, if you get stuck in battles, you lose a lot of time. If you're on your own, you can make a lot of time. So kind of large gaps did form in between the battle packs. The Colorado's a big dive up the inside into the hairpin. Almost gets it stopped on the apex. Can't quite. It's a lovely cutback from the Ford to keep hold of the position, and will get across in time. There's no space for the Chevy to be looking up the inside through the next turn. Again, the Chevy can turn tighter through these long corners, but can't quite get into a position to try a maneuver. Again, heading up in towards this final chicane. There's just nowhere to go. As you can carry as much speed as you like through here, but there is just nowhere to go. And again, the Ford with that little bit better acceleration out of all of the turns. Still, the Chevy has to sit watching the rear bumper further back. This quickly became a massive battle over 12th place. So 9th, 10th, 11th would a little bit extend away from this group, running in clean air. Very helpful indeed. When you're in a group, you could easily be losing 2 or 3 seconds a lap around here, fighting in the hiccups down towards turn 1. It's Ram versus Ram in this one. A good move up the inside for the solid blue Ram to get the position. Truck on the outside, a little bit across the grass, is in a little bit of trouble as he clips the rear of the vehicle ahead, actually gets up on 2 wheels as he slides across the road. Unfortunately, a poor Colorado with nowhere to go gets sideswiped by a sideways Ram on 2 wheels. Little bit unfortunate for the poor Colorado. The purple Chevy now having a look, trying to make the most of the opportunity. He can't squeeze the vehicle alongside as a Raptor come into this group as well, looking for a way past down towards the hairpin. The Ram's far enough away that the vehicles behind can't do anything. The Raptor thinks better of trying to squeeze alongside into the hairpin, and they live to fight another day. Still, 5th place was up for grabs. Still the Chevrolet looking for a way past. Not quite close enough into the hairpin. this time around. However, the Ford leaves the door open. It's only a smidge, but it's just enough. It's just a Chevrolet-sized gap. The Colorado is alongside. The problem is, this final section is very, very difficult to overtake through. The Ford continues to tough it out on the outside because you will get the preferred line for the way into the chicane, although you're not going to get it on the exit. The Chevy has got the grip to make it stick through that section. Lovely overtake. Actually, surprisingly clean overtake for getting 2 pickups through the final chicane. Once again, though, same problem the Chevys were seeing. You could be very quick through the corners, but you needed to be far enough away down the straight. The difference between the Chevy and the Ford wasn't massive in terms of straight line speed, but was slightly in favour of the Ford. The Ford is a clever dummy, actually, from the Ford, with the sudden dive up the inside. Not expecting the Ford to be good enough under brakes to pull that manoeuvre off. It does get it done, and while the Chevy can carry the speed through the corners, the Ford gets a better exit and a better drag up the hill. Nowhere to go for the Colorado. All of that hard work with the overtake, and, well, got to do it all over again. Got to do it once more. You can see the time lost. Pair were not that far away from 4th place, but that lap fighting, and yeah, it's long gone. At the front, the Raptor would continue to lead, would continue to fend off the pressure from both of the trucks behind right up until the very end. As we head through the chicane for the final time, the Ram clipped it. The Ram clipped the tyre bundle on the way through. Kind of goes for a semi-spin, would end up losing the position to the Chevrolet. The Ford led from start to finish, but had to fend off massive attacks from that Ram. An excellent victory for the Raptor. The Chevrolet would take 2nd, with the Ram in 3rd. Very unfortunate final time through that chicane. 5th still very much up for grabs on this final lap. The Colorado looking for every which way possible to find past. Couldn't do it at the hairpin. Going for the same manoeuvre we saw worked earlier on. Again, the Raptor leaving a little bit of space. The Chevy gets the move completed as there's still some more paint swapping between the pair of them in towards this final sector. The Raptor's out a little bit wider than it wanted to be this time. Locks the wheels into the chicane. There's a little bit of a bump between the pair of them. A little bit of a squeeze. Both trucks wiggle. Both trucks slide as they head towards the final corner. It's the Ram running in clean air that's got all of the speed through here, and the Ram's power down the start-finish straight, catching the pair of them. The Chevy's going to beat the Ford. Can the Ram catch him? Not quite. Very, very close. Very close. The Ram making huge gains on that final lap, but couldn't quite do it. A crazy, crazy race. A crazy, crazy race in these pickups. And an awful lot of fun. In the top 7 of this, we had 3 Chevys, 2 Rams, and 2 Fords. The balancing actually worked out a bit, I say a bit better than expected. The Chevy was a nightmare to build for this. I will say that much. While the Raptor and the Ram are both mid-C class, the Ram is at 450 PI, the Raptor's 455, as you would expect. The Chevy here is D class. The Chevy is 390 PI. It is 65 PI down on the Ford, and yet we'll keep pace with it. In fact, the Chevys did have the fastest laps at Catalunya. This Colorado is massively quick. It's all about its cornering. It is so much better through the corners than the other 2 pickup trucks. It is unbelievably fast. Admittedly, we are comparing it to pickups, but still, I have a sneaky suspicion, build one of these right into sort of C-class, and it's going to be an absolute monster. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun going racing with the trucks. There are a couple of things with this as a series. If it was something that I was to continue, the Colorados have a very tough time overtaking. The Colorado have a very tough time overtaking because everything's faster than them in a straight line. They'll get a pass done in the corners, and then everything will suddenly then retake them down the straight. Now, over the course of the lap, it does sort of even itself out in terms of lap speed, but it can lead to some frustrating times of the Colorados trying to make moves. If I was to make this a series, I would rebuild the Colorados slightly differently. I would perhaps take them off the street tyres, put them on their stock tyres, and then focus a little bit more on power, just to get them, balance the lap times out, of course, but to balance it in a little bit of a different manner. So that, yeah, the Colorados actually stand a chance of keeping a position. However, it did work for a very, very exciting race. It did work for a very exciting race indeed. I'm I would say I'm surprised how well it turned out. I'm not, because I know what happens when FailRace go racing with with stupid vehicles. It was probably one of the most exciting races I've had in quite a long time. And we were using pickup trucks that supposedly shouldn't be in a racing game. So, there we go. Yeah, I'm not going to defend the latest car pack. I don't think I could. However, that all being said, when you do go racing with vehicles like this, you can have a huge amount of fun. I have put all these tunes are on my sharefront, my storefront. If you want to have a go with these trucks, then you are more than welcome to. All three of them are interesting to drive, and you get some very, very good fun racing together with them. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.